afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Voice of Reason. We have an extremely special episode for you guys tonight. Most of you guys know I was down in Washington, D.C. this past week. I wanted to see all the soldiers in the streets. Unfortunately, it looks like I got there a little bit too early. There wasn't much going on when I was down
They
there.
were still unpacking.
Fortunately, though, there was somebody down there very active and very busy protesting in front of, it was the NBC, C-SPAN, and Fox News building. And I had a chance to talk to her. And if you guys tuned into my live stream that day, that was what was on my live stream before my phone decided to overheat. And they were, of course, protesting against the genocide in Gaza. They want the news to simply just, report what is happening, okay? For some reason, our country has completely capitulated to Israel to the point where it is completely smothering not only corporate media coverage, but even social media coverage. We do not see a lot in the United States of what is really happening over in Gaza. So on today's show, I bring a very special young lady, like I said, that I met down there. And this is the group of people that inspired me and made me realize that you don't need a lot of people in your group to make a whole lot of noise to get your point across. She is also the U.S. delegate for the global movement to Gaza, and she is also part of the up-and-coming Global Smooth Flotilla, which for those of you have probably heard of the Freedom Flotilla. Well, upcoming here late August, early September, the Global Smooth Flotilla is going to be the largest organized that, as far as I know, she might be able to correct me on this, large-scale initiative they plan to launch dozens of vessels in order to try and break through the blockade on the sea. And all they're trying to do is get food and
it's real
aid.
Radical. Just humanitarian aid, basic human needs to people who are being targeted for extermination. And that is such a challenge that people need to organize an aid flotilla instead of just being able to, well, they shouldn't even have to provide aid. This shouldn't be happening. But
this should be happening, yeah. That. So this year there have been 3 attempts. There was the Conscience that never made it because, according to reports, there was an alleged drone attack in international waters. There was the Madeleine. Most of you guys remember the activist Greta Thunberg has been on there. I got a lot of respect for her, man. She's been arrested a bunch of times. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. She's all over the place. And then July, just recently, the Handala, which was seized. And there was a couple of Americans on there, one of which was a U.S. labor activist by the name of Chris Smalls, who I believe is an organizer for Amazon, if I'm not mistaken. Well, anyway, he was taken into custody. They beat the crap out of him before eventually releasing him. But the fact that it just amazes me that there are people out there, like, how can you not have an opinion on this by now? You know what I mean? Because Mike and I, we'll admit, when this originally happened, when October 7th happened, we didn't know what to make of it. So we kind of stayed out of it for a while until we saw clearly what was happening. And that was we're being lied to, and that the people of Gaza were just essentially being exterminated. So since then, we have been as loud a voice as possible on this issue because we cannot stand by. As Americans, you're supposed to promote freedom and, a better life for everyone. We cannot stand by while people are being systematically erased off the face of this earth, especially when it's funded by our government. We can talk about that if it comes up, but AIPAC, again, 80% of the members of our House of Representatives currently have accepted money from AIPAC. While Republicans were recently, while they took vacation and decided not to do any legislating, decided to take a trip to Israel and visit with the war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu. That's what our government is doing currently, okay? For some reason.
Who is being protested in his own country by not everyone who lives there, but some people for committing war crimes. Everyone on the planet knows this is what's happening. And yet Israel is allowed to do it because pretty much the only reason they're allowed to do this is because the U.S. supports them financially.
Right. I mean, they want to make it illegal to burn. I don't know if they made it illegal or going to make it illegal. If you burn an Israeli flag, that would be considered anti-Semitic. They want to this project. I'm going to
Esther?
forget the name of it now. Esther, Project Esther, wants to essentially make talking about Israel illegal. So yeah, there's a lot we can dissect and talk about. But today's show is all about Summer, her mission, and what she's been through, how she's gotten to this point, and what the plan is for this next flotilla. Because it sounds like it is an absolutely massive undertaking. So welcome to the show for the first time, hopefully not the last time, Summer from the Global Movement to Gaza. How are you, Summer? Welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm just as good as anyone can be when a genocide is going on against
True.
their own people. So,
And it's
but
amazing. There's a lot of genocides going on around this world right now.
yeah. So, I am a Palestinian myself. I'm a mother of three. I have a bachelor's of science in microbiology and bioengineering.
Nice.
I was a former owner of a company, and now focusing solely on activism because it's just gotten out of hand. I mean, it's been out of hand for years, but we're watching a live stream genocide, so you can't really feel like you want to do much other than advocate for it.
I've kind of been in the same position now with what's going on here in our country. I've chosen to just commit 100% to it because I feel it's just that important.
Well, it's interesting to see the different phases of what's acceptable in a society and the different things we've come to see more and more of live streamed, if you will, right? Vietnam was the first war photographed and put on TV in that way. I mean, obviously World War One, World War Two, Korea were photographed, and we have some video footage here and there, but Vietnam having on the news every night changed people's opinion of war. And now we have everyone on the planet being able to see, not due to the media, not due to journalism, which is rapidly dying in this world, but through almost guerrilla tactics, the people are showing what's happening to themselves for the first time in history. And I think that's gotten a lot of people's attention.
Right. It's a live stream genocide through the brave journalists that are in Gaza, which is why Israel has been targeting and has killed over 240
Jeez.
journalists till now.
One
And
of many war crimes.
one of many war crimes. One of the journalists, which was a very prominent Al Jazeera journalist, just today, Anas al Sharif, who was assassinated along with his cameraman and others that they were in their journalist tent and was directly targeted and killed in an instant. And the world is watching and not doing enough to stop Israel's war crimes.
I mean,
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
I was going to say, is it an over? Yes, the answer is it's an oversimplification. But is it an oversimplification to say if the United States stopped funding Israel, the genocide would not be able to continue?
I think so. I think
Okay.
our the money that the United States is sending and the support that they give to Israel is giving a big part to why they are able to continue in this genocide.
We are Israel's number one supporter financially, right behind Germany, but Germany has recently stepped up.
Boy, is there an irony there. Holy crap.
Yeah, it's hard not to look at that. Yeah. But Germany, a lot of the countries that have previously supported Israel are starting to see the light of day, and they're starting to back away. But unfortunately, the United States is not one of those countries.
Sometimes I think those of us that have the luxury of pointing to history to have parallels lose the message of the people that it's happening to in the moment. We could say, it's ironic that Israel is acting in a very similar way to a certain Germany in 1940. But what's really important is none of that, because what's important is the suffering. So we would love to hear more about how, like, what is the path you took to be able to affect this change and coordinate this aid effort.
Sure. Well, after the global march to Gaza happened in Egypt, which was supposed to try to um, get to the border of Rafah and, just open up some kind of humanitarian anything, or just to get a message saying, to the people in Gaza that we haven't forgotten about them, we haven't left them alone, we'll keep trying no matter what. And unfortunately, we never made it. The people that went there never made it to the border. The Egyptian government was very hard, cracking down hard on everyone. People were deported, people were beaten, people had their passports taken from them. And then you also had the Samud convoy that was in Libya going through to try to also a caravan of a whole bunch of cars trying to get to the border as well. And so this initiative came along as we all, a lot of us met in Tunisia and decided that something more needs to be done. So this global movement to Gaza came under this global Samud flotilla. And the word Sumud in Arabic means perseverance, steadfastness. So this came as three different organizations, I guess you could say: the Global Movement to Gaza, the Maghreb Sumud Convoy, and then the Malaysian Sumud Nusantara, if I'm saying that correctly. So this is all falls under the Global Sumud Flotilla. And I am just part of the delegation for the U.S., but there's over 44 countries that are going to be involved in this.
Yeah, I think I saw there's something like 15,000 people registered to help with this. That's
I'm
an
not sure about the
insane number.
numbers, but there is an insane amount of people that have registered.
I mean, the coordination on this, the logistics alone, this isn't going to be just one boat. This is going to be a literal flotilla. And if people don't realize what that means a whole bunch of boats going on a mission together. This isn't uncommon. We've seen that the movie Dunkirk, I think it was basically about a civilian flotilla trying to get aid to people during World War II and off Ireland or something like that. I forget where it was. But the point is, historically, flotillas are for times of need, whether it's to take refugees somewhere or to bring humanitarian aid to those who need it. And I think, again, we have to realize if we're in a scenario where we need to find a way to get aid in some non-conventional means, there's something that the world needs to stand up against. That's the way I look at it. If civilians are trying to find a way to keep people alive, there's something going on that needs to be stopped. There's something that's going on that can be stopped, but there's a choice to keep it going. And I think that's what people need to understand, is they need to see more and more of the people where this is happening, who this is happening to. And honestly, if that doesn't break you, if that doesn't make you want to contribute or to understand the truth, and there's something deeply wrong with you. That's just how I see it. I mean, when on in your efforts to bring aid, what adversities have you come across that have prevented you from just delivering basic foodstuffs, basic medical supplies?
Well, I mean, every time for the past two flotillas that have tried to do that, of course, Israel invades their flotillas. They kidnap the people, and some are beaten, held in Israeli prisons, and the flotillas themselves are confiscated by Israel. So whatever is on those flotillas never gets back to anyone, and never gets to Gaza, period.
Correct me if I'm wrong. And I saw this in a video. There was like a white substance sprayed on all the food and aid at one point, or am I thinking of something totally different here?
I am not sure about what that is about, so I don't want to comment and say.
Okay, okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah,
All right.
because I've heard a lot of things, and again, we can't substantiate them, that about adulterating the foodstuffs that are going. I mean, the level of cruelty to just do what they're doing alone is barbaric, but then to like essentially poison or render useless food. We're not even talking like they're delivering donuts. We're delivering, people are
Bags of
delivering
flour.
flour.
Yeah.
And that's the basic necessity that you could possibly give someone to subsist on, barely. And they're
Yeah.
like, no, we're not only going to not let them have it, we're going to let them have it, but we're going to poison it. Like, it goes to show you the mentality. This isn't a political, we're going to fight another country war. This is a gross
Yeah.
exaggeration of humanism and dehumanism.
Yeah, it's not a war. It's just it's
it's not
genocide is the only way to explain it. It is not a war. We do not see any videos of Hamas fighting back. Okay, they're not there. You know what I'm saying? And like, yeah, I'm sorry. I don't want to get off topic, so I'll start ranting forever if we get off topic. But let's talk about like. Well, I guess when is the flotilla set to? I know it said late August, early September. Do you guys have a confirmed date yet, or is it going to be in like stages?
There, for security purposes, we won't be saying exactly what's going to happen, but the first set is supposed to be leaving August 31st from Spain, and then there will be there'll be additional boats from Tunisia in around September 4th, and there will be dozens of boats, not knowing exactly, how many or where the other ports will be, just for security reasons.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
But yes, this is to be a nonviolent response to a genocide and a siege on the Palestinian people. And it is a flotilla effort on this scale has never been seen before. So
that's impressive.
I'm honestly, because I'm tired of seeing videos of kids starving. You know what I mean? Literally watching kids taking their last breath, kids with their limbs blown off, hospitals decimated. I mean, we have videos of Gaza just completely wiped to the ground. I mean,
you could see what a war looks like, and you could see what a genocide looks like. A war is strategic destruction for the most part. I know I'm exaggerating, but a genocide is wiping an entire city off the map and then going back and bombing the rubble because the people have nowhere to even exist except in places that have already been attacked. Again, the level of cruelty. One thing I think is important to point out is we already have people from our community asking, how can people donate to this? How can people help? That tailors into what I was going to ask is, you have this flotilla coming. Where is this aid coming from? Obviously not locations and specifics, but I mean, is it all just through donations? Are there organizations helping out? What can anyone do to help?
Yes, that would be great, actually. If anyone can go to a U.S. Global Movement to Gaza U.S. on Instagram, there's a link in our bio for donations. And because honestly, without donations and we cannot sail, so we are we have, it covers costs of the crew, the captains, the food, the aid, the mission itself, the journalists, the coverage of the whole mission. So it's a very well thought out process, and it takes some money. So if people can go to that would be great.
We'll keep this up the rest of the thing. I'm going to take it down in a moment just to add a little verbiage to it, but I want to keep this up the rest of the show.
I believe I have all your information, your Instagram, your TikTok, and the Global Movement to Gaza US on Instagram in the comment or in the description of the video.
Are you seeing donations from businesses, from any, I'm going to laugh, corporations, or is this all private and small donations?
A lot of it is anonymous. A lot of it, and so which is great. And it's just the people like you and me, and
Yeah.
whether it's $5 or $50 or $10,000, every bit helps. So we're not looking at and waiting on big corporations or politicians to help out, because we most likely know that's not gonna happen.
It's interesting because let's play a little game. And I know Jeremy's been itching to bring this up, and Summer, you mentioned it earlier, and we're all on the same page here that AIPAC is essentially a ticker tape of who not to trust in the Democratic Party. We already know that the Republicans love AIPAC because they're obsessed with Israel due to evangelical Zionism. We've had a couple of shows about that. Could go on about that all day. But it's just interesting to see who backs this, who doesn't, who can be public about it, who won't. But imagine for a moment if all the Democrats, for example, just the Democrats, took the money they received from AIPAC and went around to just use that to donate to the cause of humanitarian aid. Wouldn't that send a message? Wouldn't that mean something?
Well, what if they didn't take any money from AIPAC, and they didn't give money to Israel? They could clean up the whole United States, and solve this problem, the unhoused people's problem.
Well, it's funny because
talked about that.
we were gonna see if we got into this, and we are not going to take the focus off today's episode. But just as an aside, obviously recently some interesting individuals met other individuals in the United States in Alaska, and that was over a conflict that had to do with one sovereign state invading another and is trying to take over their land. And there's a bunch of people in the US that are like, we shouldn't help those people, but we should definitely help Israel commit genocide. We're good for spending our money on that. Like the dichotomy of what people are accepting, what certain voters in America believe, the good that America could be doing. And this is true of our whole history. If you take away all the bad we've done, on top of that, the mechanism for change and good that the US is able to bring and yet doesn't is heartbreaking, and a condemnation on this so-called free country.
Yep. Well, we have I don't think anybody that takes money from AIPAC at this point should be allowed to run for re-election. We need AIPAC
primary them based on that.
Well, we have to get Israel out of our government. They have way too much influence. They have way too much power. So are you from Gaza? I'm like, yes. But even Donald Trump, Miriam Adelson, who is a Zionist, she helped give like $215 million to Donald Trump.
Come on.
But it's not just him. It's Democrats too. Democrats, a lot of them. Hakeem Jeffries, big AIPAC beneficiary.
I'm Palestinian, but I'm not from Gaza, so
okay. Here's a good question. There are people from Gaza on Blue Sky asking me for money. How do I know it's really them? I would, before Summer answers that, I would just say, unless it's through a donation link that's through an organization you could research and find some history of, do not donate. Summer, would you like to speak on that?
I hate to say anything about that, because I hate people who really need money to not receive it.
Sure.
But I would most likely prefer to donate through a well-known organization.
Exactly. Like yours, because we know the money is going, and that is not a plug by any means. What we're trying to point out here is, unfortunately, you can't always trust everyone on the internet, but if you could follow through, especially with Instagram's donation policy to organizations, they do vet that. I've used it a few times for some other organizations I wanted to try and raise money on. So that's the best way to do it, Brina. Trust them that way. But to your point, Summer, like we can't condemn anyone that is truthfully reaching out for help, because, and this is where it should be speaking to people. Wouldn't you do the same thing? In this country, we have people that, since we have no actual health care, people are reaching out for donations for their families' cancer research. Well, if you're willing to do that for yourself, why can't you just see that other people are suffering and they need this too? Let me rephrase that. I will never be shocked I will never not be shocked at the level of inhumanity Americans express over suffering when it isn't their own perceived pearl clutching suffering. Like,
I mean,
we have
look,
actual, we're supporting a genocide, and everyone's like, it's all right.
bro,
We got
we live in a
alligator
country,
Alcatraz. It's great.
right? We live in a country where they want to take away our benefits, while at the same time Israel has U.S. funded college, free healthcare, paid for
Yep.
by the United States,
All the bombs they want, all the
and
bullets
I'm
they
not
want.
saying this, I'm not being anti-Semitic, but if you are quote unquote, they said Jewish enough, you can actually have a government sponsored free 10-day vacation to Israel,
Yep.
all paid for by the United States. But
Well,
but these same politicians want to take
Want to know
food and
something
aid
else?
away from us
Here's another
at
good
the
one.
same time.
So I learned this back when I was in school, and I met someone. It was in music school, and she was from Israel, but like, no, she was from U.S. Sorry, she was born in the U.S. She was an American citizen. She was not an Israeli citizen, but the Israelis will allow anyone of Jewish descent to go serve in their military for a time. Like, that's, so we're going to recruit from another country now. Like, I started to figure out then. I was raised in a half Jewish, half Catholic household, but I was raised with none of the actual belief systems. What I like to refer to as cultural religion. None of the actual things. I never had any animosities toward anyone, none of that. But when I started learning about the weird things that Israel was allowed to do, start reading about the history, start reading about how there was a country called Palestine there before it existed, I kind of learned at an early age that maybe something was going on. I didn't grow up at the time of the PLO problem or any of that stuff from the 70s and 80s. But I grew up knowing that Israel was doing something funky, and now I'm seeing their end game here, and no one's helping except the people that are from there or the people that actually have some genuine humanity in them. I mean, some are like, what can, do you think there's anything that could be done to get more support, or is this, we're at the mercy, and not us, Palestine, is it the mercy of and the whim of hoping this stops? Is there any way to really affect change?
I mean, I think we always have to believe that we can affect change and have some
True.
kind of hope, because if we don't, then what are we all doing? We just might as well
Agreed. I
and
agree with that statement.
for the people of Gaza too, like, we cannot, if they themselves are living their own genocide and they still have hope,
Yeah.
what makes me not do the same? And I have nothing compared to what's going on with them. So
That is an interesting way in my mind. Like, maybe it's always about framing, right? Trying to get people to understand your perspective. And maybe that's the way it's got to go, is if people can be experiencing this and still have hope, we have no right to not have hope that we can help. If you can spare $1, if you could share a post, you're helping. If you can talk about it, if you could stop misinformation and disinformation when you're hearing a conversation, if you could do any of those things, if you have the bravery and strength to do those simple things when you yourself are not at risk, imagine what it's like to people that just want to get food for their family. So if you don't mind, I'd like to go over some facts. We've talked a little bit earlier. If these are wrong, if they're off, let me know right away. But I want people to understand the scale of this from what I think was reliable sources. But if you don't mind, let's take a quick look. I want people to see what's going on here. So this is something that terrified me, that Israel is restricting lawyers. Prisoners are doubly isolated.
Sounds familiar.
Prisoners' messages are being blocked. Lawyer visits canceled and approvals delayed for months.
Sounds really familiar.
Red Cross visits prohibited, which is obvious. Ongoing threats and assaults. Continued enforced disappearances of Gaza detainees. Occupation's aim is to isolate prisoners and then deny their legal and human rights. I mean, that's assuming that there are people in a legal prisoner authority relationship. That's not talking about people who are just trying to exist and getting bombed. Is that correct?
Well, all those things are correct. But what you have to understand is these are Palestinians who are taken to courts they are taken to military courts.
Yep,
They're
tribunal.
not taken to regular courts, and most of the time they are taken with no charges, and they're held with no charges. They're held, without having done anything, and so this is what we face, or what Palestinians there face on a daily basis. Their homes are demolished. Their kids and family members are shot in front of them and killed. Their neighbors, they're kidnapped off the streets and taken into Israeli custody, and sometimes they don't know where they are. Sometimes they can't, even speak to them. And yes, there are times that lawyers are not even allowed, or anyone. So all these things are happening, and again, the world is still watching, and these are military courts, just
Yep.
to emphasize.
Yeah, like this is essentially taking someone that you just claim, I suspect they're Hamas. Why? Well, they threw a rocket in my Hummer. Okay.
I'm sorry, but if anybody would tune into this episode, you could almost say this is we're talking about the United States. Jesus Christ, I got.
Well,
chills.
look, we're not there yet. But
No, I
wouldn't-
know, but taking people without due process.
Oh,
and
yeah,
throwing them in
well-
camps and it's just like the early stages.
The
of what's
point
happening.
is, I think, Jeremy, if I may, I think what you're experiencing is the global rise of fascism and the acceptance to subdue populations through
Makes me
military.
sick to my stomach.
We used to think we were safe in this country, and we're nowhere near where all these places that genocides are happening. We're nowhere
No,
near
not
that. We're
even
not
close.
woe is meing us. We're definitely not.
No.
But it's the acceptance of fascism. It's all these different fascists getting together on the world stage to hang out with each other.
Mhm.
That's what scares me. Gaza
Yeah.
isn't a test run. Gaza is an end game for these people, but it is a test run for what the world is going to allow to happen. And that's what scares me.
Yeah,
If you
well,
don't-
we have our
if you
president-
don't help Gaza, if you don't help the people of Palestine, no one's going to help anyone else. No one's going to help
Our
us.
administration is not going to help Gaza. I mean, Donald Trump wants to build a golden. Excuse my language. I was almost going to curse there.
Yeah.
Wants to build a golden tower in Gaza and put his name on it. You know what I mean?
Like
So-
that is the most that isn't the most offensive thing I've ever heard, but it is one of the most despicable things I've ever heard.
Building a golden tower on the bodies of the dead people that you just murdered is insane to me.
Hey,
But
one might
anyway.
say Manhattan is built on a giant Native
True.
American grave, so it's
Summer,
pretty
are
on the
there-
par for us.
Are there any stories, since we have you on here, you probably have a lot more information than we do on what's going on over there, like truly what's going on, brother. Are
You
any
have
specific
inspirational
stories that you might want to share? Because the one that broke my soul, literally had me crying when I first heard about this story, was the little boy who walked like 7 miles barefoot for scraps and then thanked and literally thanked an American military member who was over there helping Israel, so he thought. And then as the kid was leaving, they killed him, martyred him.
Yeah.
Stories like that literally tear me apart as a human being. And I don't understand how it's not gotten everybody in an uproar. But are there any other stories that you know of like this? I mean, I'm sure there's.
I mean, just this morning, there was a story coming out of a little girl who went to fill up water in her.
Oh God, I saw the video.
And
I saw that.
Israel targeted her and just
Yeah.
blew her up as she was
Yeah,
trying to
I
get
saw
water.
that today.
I mean, what kind of evil?
Right.
It's
That-
I don't know.
You know what?
I think that
know
is what it
kind of
is. It's
evil.
just pure evil. That's
I
all
know
it
what
is.
kind of evil. Supremacist evil, and I'm leaving out the white for a specific reason. It's the idea that some people deserve to live and others are animals and subhuman. That
Mhm.
belief system, however it is fostered, wherever it comes from, and whoever it benefits, is a plague on humanity. If you don't see every person that exists as a viable human, there is something deeply wrong with you, and you are forfeiting your human rights. Because if you don't see that other people have human rights, why the heck should anyone ever support yours? Because if you're willing to just watch someone die and not even shed a tear over it, that is evil. And I don't use that word very often, but I'm getting a couple of questions here. One I think is an obvious answer, but let's go over. Why wouldn't other countries go in and stop it? I think I'm going to be sarcastic. The obvious answer is because the U.S. backs Israel, and the no one is going to go in and do anything to the state of Israel while the U.S. has its back.
But we're not the only ones, though. For
Well, we're not
decades
the only
now,
ones.
Germany, America, Canada, a lot of Europe. You know what I mean? They have all been ever
Well,
since
here's the
World War
thing.
II. They have been almost guilted
But
into supporting whatever Israel
here's a
does.
thought. Is that just because after World War II, U.S. was the global leader superpower that it was? And now that our standing is diminished, are other people going to be so easy to do what we tell them or to live again according to our
I don't know. I'm
opinions on how they
hoping
should?
these other countries grow a goddamn, excuse my language, conscience. I'm sorry. Sorry, I usually swear a lot on this show, and I'm trying to censor myself for you, Summer.
We are trying to get
So
better
don't
just to
mind me. Don't
actually
mind me.
monetize. But
Every
another
once in a while,
question,
it'll slip through. I'm sorry.
Oh, where was that
We have to
question?
emphasize that what Israel is doing and why our flotillas are getting out, are going to get out there, hopefully, is because what Israel is doing is illegal.
Right.
Under international
Yes.
law itself. I mean, the flotillas, the countries have every right to enter the waters
Yep.
off of the shore of Gaza to
Yep.
bring in this necessary aid. And what Israel is doing is illegal.
Yep. I think it's important to understand that the only people that really don't respect, now I'm going to be sarcastic here because obviously like people like Vladimir Putin know, but the only people who don't seem to respect international law is the US and Israel. Like in all honesty, the idea that America wants to be an isolationist country is predicated on the idea that we have no responsibility to the rest of the world. Yeah, we have responsibility to ourselves to help our people, but we're not going to do that whether we help other people or not. Until something fundamentally changes in the U.S., you're not getting any more than you
Dude,
got right
just
now.
this year alone, we've had 2 murderous war criminals on U.S. soil.
Yeah, like, come on, stop. You're not getting anything at all, no matter what we do. So, at the very least, can't we help and protect other people? Can't we demand that genocide does not happen, not only on our watch, but with our tax dollars? Like that little girl that got blown up, someone in the U.S. paid for that with their overtime. The tax on their overtime paid for that bomb. It's as simple as that.
And this is not just the Trump administration, but the Biden administration as well.
Everyone's been doing it.
And I'm not trying to be all conspiratorial on you, Summer, but at this point, I'm not even convinced that October 7th was an Israeli false flag operation because they've been trying to wipe Palestine off the map for decades. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I don't know. I feel like they
That's
just
as
wanted
close as
an
we'll
excuse.
get to a conspiracy theory.
I know. Maybe I'm crazy, but it just seems like that's all they wanted. They just wanted one final excuse to go in and do this. It's
knowing
almost
that
like
they would have
like a bloodlust they have for this kind of stuff. It's
Joe
insane.
Biden, Barack Obama, George Bush, every U.S. president in the last 30, 40 years has, in its own way, to whatever degree, supported a genocide in Gaza because Palestine and Gaza especially has been an open and air prison for decades. So we are not taking anything off of anyone who has culpability. I am going to link Donald Trump with Joe Biden, with Barack Obama, with Bill Clinton, everyone who has supported Israel in their effort to isolate and torture Palestine. They're guilty. Right now, it is the worst it would ever be because Donald Trump has no humanity in him. So there is no limit to which he would allow Israel to get away with a full and complete genocide. Donald Trump doesn't care at all. At least there might have been some humanity in some of the other ones that wouldn't have let it get to an extinction phase. But I have no trust in Donald Trump working with a homicidal lunatic in Benjamin Netanyahu, backed overall by it with a Vladimir Putin and other people who are known for their genocides. I don't trust them. Summer?
Let's say that the genocide started with Biden administration in office, and
yes,
their legacy will always be genocide, and it continued on to the Trump administration.
Yes.
So it's not like, there were a lot of people, Democrats, who would say, see what you guys did, you got Trump into office. Well, who wants to vote for somebody who was already committing a genocide anyway? Not that either one is better than the other.
No.
Their legacy will be genocide,
Yep.
and Trump now,
He owns it.
he owns it. It's been passed on to him, and he's continuing with it. And so anybody who, whether it be Obama or Clinton or whoever it is,
Whatever.
not speaking up that it is a genocide, they are complicit in this genocide as well.
Yep. Look, they could make it as they could make it easy. They could have made it easy for themselves. They could said, we want to support Israel for whatever number of bullshit reasons. But they could have said, any one of them, Biden included, could have said, our support to Israel is contingent on them stopping the genocide and the imprisoning of Gaza and Palestine. Guess what? It would have stopped tomorrow. It would have.
Saying that in any way that supporting Israel on any contingency, when you support Israel, you're supporting an apartheid, an occupation.
Fair.
So I don't agree with that there should be a contingency on anything, because supporting the state of Israel is they were built and born on the occupation and the theft of Palestinian land and the killing of Palestinians. So supporting them in any way is supporting all those criminal activities.
You know what? There is no fault in that logic. Sorry, because we've talked about it plenty of times. You know, something that I grew up with, I have never been personally religious. I don't care if someone's religious, as long as their religion doesn't take away someone else's rights. We're all good. I grew up, like I said, in a Jewish and a Catholic household. I was bar mitzvahed, meant nothing to me. I just had to do it culturally. But the more and more I learned about religion growing up, all religions, you know, I didn't understand why people linked anti-Semitism with being critical of Israel, because you could be Israeli and live there and not be Jewish. The religion is not the same as the state. Some countries and states do link that. Not all do. So I never understood why me saying to myself, why is Israel doing that? And then people like someone in my family would be like, oh, you can't say that. That's anti-Semitic and you're Jewish. I'm like, okay, A, I don't believe any of this. B, even if I am, that's screwed up. Why can't I speak out on that? And it's the willingness to keep quiet, even if you know that it's wrong, just to protect some vague association. You are human first and you are everything else second. And if you, at the end of it, cannot support other humans being alive and being able to live their lives in peace, again, that's evil and there's something wrong with it. And that's pretty easy. Kids can figure that out. It's adults that beat that logic out of kids.
Well, unfortunately, I'm afraid there's a generation of our country, probably any country that has right-wing extremism. I'm a firm believer that Hamas would never even existed without Israeli oppression. You know what I mean? I feel like,
and we don't know enough about the history of that to make a huge claim.
No, but at the same time, like, it makes sense. Like, you can only oppress the people for so long before they rise up against you. I hope Donald Trump understands that logic one of these days.
He doesn't.
It is the responsibility of the people oppressed to rise up and try and fight back. Obviously, in this case, it's not exactly the same, because Gaza, the people in Palestine, don't have the means to fight back against a U.S.-funded military in Israel. But yeah, it's situations like, if you keep oppressing a people and you keep denying them basic rights, yes, eventually a portion of them will be radicalized. So the same thing is going to happen in this country. That's why I'm saying this. There are going to be so many people radicalized by what's going on in this country, and eventually, if the people don't listen, it all ends up, historically speaking, leading to violence, which is obviously the last thing we want. We would like to settle things peacefully, but how do we settle things peacefully with people that don't? I guess is the dilemma that we're having.
Here's a good question. We may have covered it, but I'm not sure. Has any organization or country come forward to protect this humanitarian effort? Or is it just going in there hoping for the best?
As far as the flotillas?
Yeah.
This is done by your normal everyday, it's a grassroots organization, your normal everyday people that are wanting to break the siege on Gaza, to allow some semblance of food and aid, and just to get into and we know that this is not going to be enough aid for almost 2 million people.
No.
But
there's nothing now.
But just breaking that corridor, breaking that siege,
that
is
means a lot.
First step.
That perspective alone, oh God, I can't believe I'm about to use a parable. Oh God, this makes me feel gross. But if there's ever been an apt one, this is Goliath and David, right? Like it has to be shown that they're not just insurmountable, that they are just an oppressor that, oh God, I can't believe I'm going to say it. They could bleed, they could fall, they could lose, they could make mistakes. The show of not force, but the show of solidarity, of all this peaceful humanitarian aid getting through would mean volumes, and then it would be up to them to show the world who and what they are. There was a part of me that was wondering, we've gotten close to a lot of American veterans who are on the right side of things and cannot stand what's happening to this country. And there was a part of me that was thinking, man, what if the good veterans in this country were able to organize and help protect the flotilla? But it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter, because then they could say, the bad people can say, oh, look, they came armed. And then it would just turn into a firefight. I think the power of it being a purely peaceful mission with the only intent of almost being with their arms open and going, look, we can't do anything but provide this food. We are not a threat to you. There's nothing that could speak more loudly than that.
I think it's perfect, because any reaction adversely on the behalf of Israel shows just
Jeanette,
what kind of monsters they really
are. Thank you. Jeanette always helps out our show. She's one of our loyal
she's from Denmark.
Family members.
Yeah, we have people from all over the world watching us. It's funny.
She said, I'm tired of this conflict. It's been there my whole life, and I'm over 50. There have been times of hope, but then some idiot ruins it all again. And that's what I was saying earlier about like the ups and downs of it. It seems like my whole life, and I'm 44, I think. I've only ever known Gaza and Palestine as being subject to the terrorism of the state of Israel. That's all I've known my whole life. There are generations of Palestinians that have known nothing but that. Like that's horrifying. I don't understand it.
I think this episode has honestly made me realize the power of peaceful protesting, because any adverse reaction by the other group just shows the world who they really are.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, because so far they've been met. I showed the picture earlier. They've been boarded. They've had guns pointed in their faces. They've been detained. They've had the shit beat out of them.
And all we could do is speak out in solidarity. I mean, even the UK, there's pro-Palestinian, or I like to call them anti-genocide, because holy crap, but pro-Palestinian protests. We're seeing them in the US. We're seeing them everywhere, because protesting now is becoming our only option. Our elected officials have completely abandoned us. Now, Summer, one thing I hope I can ask, because I don't know anything about it enough. I've heard this phrase right here, from the river to the sea, and I don't understand its origins and what it means, if it's a good thing, if it's a bad thing. Do you mind shedding some light on that? If not, that's fine.
I will just say that it has nothing to do with hurting any Jews, because this is what the Zionists use as an
right.
And it's just a means of Palestinians wanting their land back.
Got it. I understand. So in other words, we want back what is ours.
Right.
I know they turned something as
like, well, but it was given to us because of some reason.
Right. It's just amazing, though. The right will turn such a phrase into something to be feared.
But what I find very interesting is, Summer, you've used the word Zionist a bunch of times today as almost to supplement the word aggressor, to supplement the people doing the genocide. Because, again, we've done shows on this. It's important to understand the global link of Zionism. What is happening in the U.S. is being fomented by Christian nationalist Zionists who want Israel to exist for the coming of their whatever, and I'm not going to get into the religious aspect of it, but the point is, this is being supported by people in America who believe that what is going on in Israel and in Palestine has to happen for their religious beliefs. It's all linked.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think that the killing and suffering of any human race is okay because you say it's a religious
Yep.
aspect or
Yep.
something, and that has nothing to do. They intertwine Judaism with Zionism to try to
Yes.
make pro-humanity people
Yep.
look bad
Yep.
and say that it's a religious thing, and it's not.
Yep.
Zionism has, there are plenty of Jews who are in our movement, and they speak against Zionism.
A lot
This
do.
has
Yep.
nothing to do with Judaism.
No, but if you're a Zionist, and I think we should just be using that blanket term a little more often because it's a good shorthand and it's accurate. If you're a Zionist, you don't look at self-defense as valid because you have dehumanized your quote target. It's pretty simple. It's the same. I think something that broke my brain in the best possible, most important way, one of the days that I grew up a little more was when my parents took me to see Schindler's List as a child when it came out. And I think one of the most important things every American Jew can do right now is go watch that movie. Don't think about it from the perspective of how it affected your grandma or your great grandma. Imagine how it's affecting children right now in the state that was forcibly created after that. Think about that and see how that messes with your brain. Because if you cry at the end of that movie, you should be weeping when you see what's going on in Gaza right now.
That's one of the hardest movies I've ever watched.
And you know what? We're going to see movies like that about Gaza one day, about Sudan one day, about all these places where humanity sat and went, yeah, that sucks, but I really want my iPhone. I really want my diamonds. And, we can't say that. That's anti-Semitic. Because that's where we're at right now. Well, we're not allowed to talk about it.
I hope we've done a good job, though. Because I always compare Zionists in Israel to Christian nationalists in America. I think of them as, religious extremists. They believe, that no matter what they do, they're going to go to heaven no matter how horrible they are on earth, no matter what they do on earth, as long as they believe hard enough and say, forgive me, Jesus, I'm going to go to heaven. It's the most absurd thing in the world to me. But no, I we have to differentiate. We cannot group, Judaism is not represented by what Israel is doing. You know what I mean? The entire religion of Judaism and Zionism are not the same.
But just the fact that we have to say this, everything's so muddied and people are so... I don't want to use the word uneducated because it implies that institutional education is the only way to educate oneself. But we have people that are so willfully and happily ignorant.
Jesus.
And it is not that hard to do a little bit of education to realize what's going on in this world and to pick which side you should be on. And that's what scares me. I don't understand. And that goes back to what I said earlier. Having the luxury of learning from history means you have the time and the security and the food and possibly the lodging to sit around, read some books, take time to learn. There are people right now that don't know if they're going to eat in 2 seconds, 2 days, 2 years, if they're going to be alive in 2 years, and why? Because we let it happen. Because Israel is attacking a group of people with the intent of erasing them so that they can go in and put up condos.
Pretty much. They want beachfront property.
They're selling land that is not theirs, that is still rubble. And they're building houses in some areas. That's what we have now.
They're going into houses and taking people's shit. They're going into houses and just taking
probably
out
for
refrigerators. No, I swear to God. They're just walking into Palestinian homes. Some of them are standing on the border. They watch bombings at night like it's fireworks, like it's the best show in town.
It's a sick society.
It is.
Well, that's what it is.
Zionism is truly evil.
Summer, you said something important, that there are Jews who are on the side of the right here. And I don't mean the right as in the global right. I mean in the right
side of history.
Yeah,
right.
Thank you, Jeremy, for And it is important. There are people, there are Israelis, there are Jewish Israelis that live in Israel, which I hate to call it that, but you know what I mean, that are against this. But the state of Palestine, I mean, the state of Israel, backed by a large portion of its residents, is inflicting this horror on people because they believe it is morally righteous. That's
the crazy
gross.
thing.
And that is not like the first time history has had people think this. It's not, and I'm not even talking about the past. Right now, it's happening everywhere on this planet. You know, something that breaks my heart is I'll see videos from people in like Sudan or other places, and they're like, you know, all eyes are on Gaza. Why aren't they here? You know what? Because you're right. Why aren't they there? But there's not enough eyes. We don't have enough eyes on Gaza. And I'm not saying we should prioritize one group of people over another, but crap, we're not stopping the one in Gaza. We can't stop the one in Sudan either. You know what would stop it? Stopping capitalism, but that's another argument for another day.
And
Capitalism is.
I will just say that that those that are, you know, when you say Israelis that are protesting against whatever it is,
Yeah,
they don't like the killing of people in Gaza or whatever it is, but these people are still Israelis. These
fair.
people are still living there on stolen land. And if you are concerned, a lot of them are just about the Netanyahu government. They're
Okay,
and so they've been living there forever, and they know an occupation is there.
that's true.
So if you are honestly concerned for the people and for humanity and for, you know, what's right for the people of Palestine, then you should not be holding that Israeli passport in your hand. That should have been given up a long time ago.
I love that.
This has nothing to do with, because Jews and Arabs lived together for years.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
but they lived under a country called Palestine.
Yep.
So if you, as an Israeli, say that you are against all this, then the first thing you should be doing is giving up that Israeli passport that you have.
You know, that is, man, one of the things
Sorry
Jeremy
to
and I
argue with
really
you.
enjoy is having our privilege checked. Because so much of what we say, even when we try to say something poignant and try to say something with compassion, it's coming from a place of privilege that we can't even see. And
Yeah,
again, you just did it to me again. Put your money where your mouth is. If you are an Israeli that knows that what's going on is fundamentally wrong, give up the US's free healthcare you're getting. Go leave that country.
Right? Yeah.
Right?
Hey.
Go do, because I can't see a better way to look at it the way you put it. I mean, yes, there might be speaking out, and maybe they are only speaking out about their government, but you're right. They've lived and grew up knowing that the occupation was there. Maybe there's a tiny, minuscule percentage of people that have been protesting all along, but you know what? Take your family and leave the country that's doing it. And I hope people in the U.S. are starting to listen to that theory, because there's going to come a point where the U.S. is starting to do some bad shit other than just supporting genocide. But you know what? Maybe all of us have to start putting our money where our mouth is. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I kind of agree. Yeah,
I don't know.
I kind of agree. Summer, thank you so much for coming on the show. Unfortunately, we are out of time.
Do you want to say something?
Yeah. Do you have anything that you have coming up you want people to know about, or do you?
No. All I want to say is all eyes on Palestine, all eyes on Gaza, free Palestine.
Yep.
And please
Absolutely.
help support this global, Samud flotilla, the global movement to Gaza, as much as you can.
Perfect.
Summer, thank you so much for taking time. Yeah,
be careful down in DC. I will be back down there. I will hit you up when I get there, okay? See if you guys are making noise anywhere else, and I can live stream that.
Good trouble. Good trouble.
Man, I'm telling you what, they were posted up outside of there with bullhorns blaring. You could hear them from blocks.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Literally blocks away. People are like, what's going on? Is there an emergency? I'm like, no. They're just down there protesting. I couldn't believe how much noise you guys were making. It was epic. They actually offered me earplugs before I went down there.
Well,
They're
you
like,
can't.
You want earplugs? I'm like, I'm
okay.
good.
It's funny you say that, because the whole time you were live, I was at work trying to get work done, and I had that in my ear, and I was like, man, I can't even zone this out. And at some point I realized I was kind of typing, but not really.
It was incredible.
So that was good.
Meeting you, though, honestly, I mean, I'm not trying to glaze you or anything like that, but meeting you is just was the best part of my trip. It made my trip to DC completely worth it. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Good luck in your future endeavors. please feel
Free
free to come
Palestine.
back on here. Yes, free Palestine for sure. Anytime you want to come back on the show, or if you have anybody else that's part of the organization and you want to do this
Updates,
again,
more info,
please come back. Just text me or hit me up with an email, and we can make that happen. No problem.
He's good
okay?
at bothering people, so you'll probably hear from him.
Yeah, I like to build relationships. I don't like to just like meet people and have them on as guests.
No.
So like you'll probably get a random text from me every now and then, just seeing how you're doing. It's just kind of how I do things. So again, Summer, thank you so much for your time. It's been a true honor and privilege meeting you, and just seeing the amount of effort that goes in your dedication, like the dedication of people right now. I don't think people understand. There are people posted up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in certain spots in DC right now. And we're not paid protesters, okay? We're not Soros funded or anything like that.
Soros funded,
like the right would like you to believe. So just the dedication is there. There are people that want to fight for just basic human rights. Like there's a large group of America, and I like to think people across the world that believe there's a better way of doing things, but we have to get through all of this shit that we're going through, unfortunately, in order to get there first. So, Summer, have a good rest of your day. Stay safe in Washington. I am planning on coming down Labor Day weekend, so I will hit you up when I get there, okay? Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day, everybody. Jeanette and everyone, thank you for all your contributions. Again, you can find Summer's social media information as well as Global Movement to Gaza US. You can find their Instagram information or tag in the description of this video as well. We will see you tomorrow with James Russell for another episode of The Derp State. And then don't forget Tuesday, we have Election Truth Alliance and Smart Elections, as well as Brandy from TikTok coming back on the show. So we got some big stuff lined up here. And I will be streaming from DC again in the near future. I guarantee that. So have a good day, and we'll talk to you.